what I've been able to do here, thanks in large part to relic hunters in the 70s and 60s, because they took everything out of Redoubt 4, and then the reenactors in the 80s dug it up and reshaped it, that kind of thing. I can keep it looking as close as it did during the siege. That intel allows me to do living history presentations, reenacting, that kind of thing for the public. So Blakeley's real special in that manner. You don't always get to do this stuff on the original ground, much less in original earthworks. This is unheard of. What you have here is a row of what's called abattis. It's treetops and big branches, ideally with the points sharpened and sticking out towards the advancing foe. Right here along this section of the line, there were 3 lines of abattis. The main line here, another line going up and out of this ravine, which we call the fishbowl, and then another line going on the outside or the out in front of that forward line of Confederate rifle pits. If you go to those pits, you'll notice that they're in a crescent shape. That's a defensive position, your defense. You go to the opposite side of the field, you see the Federal pits, they're dug like a grave. They're a rectangle, and the dirt stone to one side or towards the enemy. What they were doing was they would dig these pits on a certain night, they would man them throughout the following day, and then that following night they would connect the pits, and then bam, you got a trench the next morning, and so on and so on and so on, progressing the siege operation to get closer to these guys. All right, inside this line of abattis, you have these sharpened stakes. Historically, they're driven into the ground, actually in the soil. Obviously, I can't do that here because that would disturb the historical, archaeological sensitivity of the site. So I had to come up with an alternative plan, because you can't have that and then have this and not have this. This is a big deal for this, because all the readouts had this. Every one of them had these semicircular formations of stakes. And all this is an effort to slow down this huge mob of Federal troops that they know are coming. So you're desperate. You got roughly 3,000 men in your garrison to cover 3 miles, and you've got, on a low day, 16,000 out there waiting to jump on you at any minute. So this is all they could do to slow it down. They know the war's going to end soon. Everybody knows that at this point. So you have these. I've had to rig up this 2x4 system, but I got the representation of what it probably would have looked like. Inside this, those aren't just chunks of wood. They're replicating tree stumps. We recently had a track meet out here, a cross-country race, and the coach decided to utilize my tree stumps and make it like part of his course. I don't think he'll be coming back to put them back where they were, though. So what those are, there's tree stumps. The Confederates cut down all the trees 600 to 800 yards out from the front. They harvested the logs to build the framework and the revetments of the earthworks themselves. They just pile the logs up, bam, you've already got 2 or 3 feet. Throw their dirt up on top, it makes it stronger from an engineering standpoint. They would use the tree tops for abattis. They leave trees on the ground to trip people up as they're attacking. Just a myriad of uses for the logs. The number one reason they did it for was for a field of fire. You've got this and all this 600 yards out, you can see anything and everything coming your way. The only problem with the position at Blakeley is they were so outnumbered. They never had enough men to man this. Inside Redoubt 4, and I would say the average on all the readouts, we're about 200 men altogether in this fortification. Then you have the trench line that comes down from Redoubt 4, heads across the swamp down here, goes up to Redoubt 3, and then 2, and then 1. 1's underneath the house. But we have the other 8. 9 on the southern flank, on the southern end of the town, southern end of the line. 3 miles altogether. Are there any questions yet?
Where was it broken first, and what happened after that?
As far as the line falling, collapsing, it starts on the flanks. The United States Color Troops start around 2 o'clock, I think, that afternoon, and they start making sorties against 1 and 2, and then finally when the main assault starts at 5:30, everybody comes, everybody goes.